A boy left this mountain a hunter. He returns from it something the mountain itself had to teach him how to hide. An inheritance he can't explain. 1,000 electrum, worth $4 million by his own earth-taught math. A sword that chooses when to answer him. And somewhere above the clouds, an eye older than his nation watching him walk home. This is Sucram. And this is the day the game began, whether he knew it yet or not. Welcome back to the world of Ayth. I'm your guide through the rise of the glacier sovereign. Last time, Sucram descended into a mountain hunting an Arctic snake and came back carrying something far heavier than a kill. Today, chapters 6 through 8, the Golden Watcher, the Silver Feather, and the first echo of a war that started centuries before he was born. Sucram walks the tunnel out of the mountain carrying two secrets. The sovereign sword slung across his back, and beneath his glove, a spatial ring holding an inheritance he hasn't fully let himself process. 1,000 electrum, $4 million if you're still counting in Earth terms, and some part of him still is, but there's no thrill in the number, not this time. For the first time in his second life, power feels less like something he's earned and more like something he's now responsible for. His body knows it before his mind does. Ash leaks from his fingertips without his permission. Small, involuntary, gone the moment he notices and wills it back under control. He doesn't know what changed in that mountain, only that something did. Luhssa looks different to him now. The frozen coastline, the frostwood settlement rising out of the ice like it was grown there instead of built. Fishing fleets working the harbor, maintenance drones gliding low over the rooftops, heat recycling towers breathing warmth back into a city that has no business being this alive this far north. Earth spent centuries fighting nature to survive it. Ayth convinced nature to become its partner. And walking home through it, Sucram isn't thinking about how strong he's become. He's starting for the first time to understand what strength like his is actually for. Then, a feeling. Distant, impossible. The sensation of being seen from somewhere so far away it shouldn't be able to see him at all. He suppresses his ash signature on instinct and the feeling fades, but it doesn't leave. Not completely. The village doesn't wait for details before it decides he's a hero. The story's already grown past what actually happened down there. His father, Corin, says almost nothing when he sees him. Doesn't need to. Two men who love each other rarely do. His mother is the opposite. Loud, in tears, already trying to put food in his hands before he's through the door. And little Taryn, who has clearly decided Sucram hung the stars, begs for sword lessons on the spot. Whatever's coming for this family, this is what it's coming for. Remember this, that night, alone in the room he grew up in, Sucram opens the ring in full. Towering stacks of electrum, cultivation manuals, weapons, armor, sealed containers he doesn't recognize. An entire civilization's emergency reserve apparently, and somehow it's his now. One chest sits apart from the rest, marked with a symbol none of the others share. A snowflake surrounded by 7 stars. The instant his fingers touch it, the room goes cold, every candle dies at once, and a voice, ancient, female, not unkind, says only, not yet. Elsewhere, beneath a different glacier, in a fortress built into the ice itself, a hooded figure stands before a massive mechanism buried in stone, its surface covered in slowly rotating symbols. One of them ignites. The sovereign's inheritance has awakened. The order comes without hesitation, without theater. Begin phase 1. The glacier sovereign must never reach the southern kingdoms. These are not monsters. They are planners. Back on the terrace, alone at night, Sucram trains. The sovereign's sword shifts color as he moves, blue to silver to crimson, and because the blade doesn't answer to power, it answers to intent. 5 warriors descend on him without warning, masked, armored, moving as one disciplined unit, not a mob. This is the first time the world sees Frost Crescent in full. The crimson charge first, lightning crackling through the blade as it builds, and only then the release, the arc itself detonating outward as frozen blue-white lightning. It isn't an assassination, it's a test. Mid-fight, the leader recognizes something in the way Sucram moves. The sovereign's rhythm, he calls it, confirms it aloud, signals the others, and the unit vanishes, erasing every trace they were ever there. The signal reaches the fortress. The conspirators' response is immediate. Activate every sleeper. The web must be completed before the glacier sovereign understands he has already walked into its center. Above the clouds, a single golden iris opens, and for the first time all episode, it reacts. It smiles. Sucram finds a small silver feather covered in runes that shift when he isn't looking directly at them. Carved into it, a warning. Run when the watcher arrives. Not if. He notices that too. The next morning is quieter. A town already exaggerating his legend around him. Tyron still starstruck. The veteran hunter Garek mentioning almost in passing that the Arctic snake's wounds were too clean. The kind of clean that comes from decades with a blade, not one lucky encounter. Sucram brushes it off. You shouldn't. Then Elderbrand finds him and asks one question that lands harder than any accusation could. What did the mountain give you? Not what he found there, what it gave him. Sucram answers with one word, perspective. And Bran lets it go, but he doesn't believe it, not for a second. Training alone at the cliffs, Sucram breaks through. For the first time, he can see the flow of ash moving through the world around him, not just through himself. Frost Crescent, driven by that breakthrough, nearly splits an ancient granite pillar built to withstand elite cultivators for centuries. A second feather, larger than the first, leads him on a chase down the coastline to a hidden shelf between two walls of glacier. He reaches out and touches it, and the world disappears. In its place, a star field reflecting across still water, galaxies folding into each other, and a figure made of 6 wings of living silver ash. Warmth and impossible scale held in one shape. She introduces herself as the Oracle, as someone who has carried many names since before this world was even called Ayth. Her name is Aurelia. She confirms what Sucram has feared since the mountain. The web of evil is real, thousands of years old, an entire civilization of actors who don't know they're serving the same outcome. Each one convinced they're pursuing their own small ambition, none of them aware they're threads in the same design. She shows him something else. His own fate was never supposed to bend the way it has. He was never supposed to survive any of what's already happened to him. She tells him she remembers every soul that has ever carried the sovereign's will, which means he isn't the first. It means most of them didn't make it. This is the story asking its real question out loud. Is any of this choice, or is all of it destiny? Then the Golden Watcher finds them, and for the first time, its true scale is undeniable. An eye that could hold entire mountain ranges inside its pupil. Continents reflected in it like still water. Aurelia shields him bodily, holds the Watcher back. Long enough, she says, making it clear that long enough has a limit. She passes centuries of swordsmanship straight into his mind through the feather in his hand. And before the vision closes, she leaves him with 4 things. Trust Bran, protect your family, seek the Southern Archives, and remember, the greatest battles are rarely won by the strongest sword. They're won by the person who convinces others to fight beside them. Far away, the conspirator feels the Oracle's intervention the instant it happens. His response this time is faster. Accelerate every operation, notify the Circle, and send friends to Luhssa. Not assassins, not yet. Sucram walks home through his own nation, seeing it differently now. Quieter, gentler, the calm sitting just slightly too still over something underneath it. 2 strangers move through that same city without ever crossing paths. A disguised merchant, wrist marked with a hidden emblem. A circle surrounded by 7 triangles, quietly studying Sucram's psychology, his leadership, what kind of man he might become. And Scholar Miriel, posing as a historian from the Southern Archives, papers forged so well no one's thought to question them. The moment she's through the gate, her smile disappears. Target acquired. Neither of them knows the other exists. This nation has more than one hostile agent inside its walls tonight, and not a single one of them is working with the others. That evening, Bran reveals he clocked both infiltrators before Sucram noticed either one. Then he spars him, wooden sword only, no ash at all. And while he does, he says the only things that matter about how to actually fight: the feet kill, the hips kill, the shoulders kill, the sword simply arrives last. Sucram's first real strike doesn't land on the moment he's trying hardest. It lands the moment he stops trying to win at all. Captain Harlan reports a third infiltrator. Quietly, without alarming its own people, Luhssa converts itself into a fortress. Automated defense towers rising into position, ash-powered ballistae, magnetic shield generators humming to life across the skyline. A city that looks at rest and is anything but. Then, a small deliberate accident. A geothermal ash conduit severed under the marketplace, clean enough to be professional, pulls every eye east. While it does, the real plan moves elsewhere. Scholar Muriel enters the archives. An unnamed courier takes position. Bran knows immediately it's staged. It's too small. Sucram spots a maintenance worker watching him for a beat too long and chases him onto an observation tower. He finds nothing there, except a single silver coin, the same circle, the same 7 triangles, inscribed in a language he shouldn't be able to read. The game begins. Bran recognizes it the instant he sees it and refuses to explain it, tells Sucram to keep it secret from everyone, even his own parents. I was hoping I would never see that symbol again. That's all he'll say. Above the clouds, one last time the golden eye opens, not to judge, not to intervene, only to witness, because history has finally started moving again. 3 infiltrators inside Luhssa, a mentor who knows more than he's willing to say, a coin that shouldn't exist, written in a language Sucram was never taught, and somewhere above the clouds, an eye that's finally decided this story is worth watching all the way through. Subscribe to follow the Glacier Sovereign's rise and tell me in the comments, what do you think that symbol means and what is Bran so afraid of?